Welcome to Babylon Brews News, End Times, and Headlines. We're coming at you. I'm Aaron Crew Juice for Verka, and I've got Keith.
Let's get controversial.
I've got Edward. And I've got Gumpy.
Hey, what's up? You got me. You always got me.
We're going to be chilling and thrilling. I am starting with Felize Navidad Christmas Ale, Schnitz Brewing. So, all right, is that the right one?
Yeah, that's the right one.
Okay.
If you're asking me like why I have it, I just was in my fridge. I can't remember.
I was going to say, you were just the same place I was. I was like, wait a minute, I was just here. So this is an 8.0 alcohol level by volume. I'm sure it's going to be delicious because it is a Christmas ale. Christmas ales are fantastic.
Today is the battle of the Christmas ales because we have another Christmas ale after this.
We have
Christmas ale.
one other one to test and verify.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to Uber home.
You can ride on the back of my
I
e-bike.
appreciate that.
It's cool.
You live in this neighborhood?
I'm pretty close. I'm in Old Brooklyn.
Pretty close. I did pre-pour these. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is sniff test.
I'm still sick. I can't smell anything.
I don't know. I have a very
I
slight...
get nutmeg.
Yeah, I was going to say a nutmeg or
See that?
mostly
Hands.
nutmeg.
Remember
actually.
He said packets head.
There is lots of nutmeg.
Yeah, I can
Good
see that.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not from the area, that was a craft store.
It was.
Joanne Fabrics or what's the other one?
It was like
Michael's?
very
Yeah.
heavy on Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of nutmeg and cinnamon.
I used to pretend hating to go there with my wife and kids. I'm like, I don't want to go.
Oh, darn.
But I do.
Why
Smells
are
like
you
dragging
dragging me?
glitter.
Oh, interesting.
Tastes a bit nutty.
I'm actually getting some nutmeg.
Yeah, me too.
This is heavy nutmeg on here. Like this is like 80% nutmeg.
Nutmeg right in the nuts.
You're right.
I know nutmeg when I taste it.
Mm.
But I like it though because
It's smooth.
it's not it's pretty full bodied. It's not thin.
No.
And it's not bitter.
It's not quite a porter. It's almost like a very dark lager. Yeah. It's smooth though. And you listen to the previous episode that we just filmed. We have a deep appreciation for Schnitz because they made an amazing beer on our previous episode. Go back and listen to it.
Yep.
Yeah, what was that? That was the pale ale, right?
Yeah.
That was that's better than this, but this is good.
Yeah.
There-
This is good. That was phenomenal. This is very good.
Their beer is the Schnitz.
That's right. It's the Schnitznit.
I feel like Christmas ale always kind of like punches you in the face with something, and being punched in the face with nutmeg, I'll take it.
That's right. You can only get punched in the face if you are either drinking a Christmas ale or trading with me.
Yeah. Or any other podcast that you listen to here.
That's right. No, it's good. It's good. It's delectable. So
So we may have a visitor on this one.
we do.
A not so visiting visitor.
Yeah. We're gonna circle around to him. Keith, how was your holiday season?
Oh dang. Yeah. What did I do other than what I already explained? What I did. I mean, we were pretty lazy. Played some video games. Stayed up too late. Doing nothing. Cleaned some crap. Oh, I was like really good at like pre-organizing before I got all the extra Christmas crap.
Oh, there you go.
Like cleaning out the attic.
How late did you stay up on Christmas Eve?
I might have been at some 1 a.m. for I don't even know why.
Same. Like at least one or two.
Yeah, I'm always like running around like like second guessing a gift or like oh crap there was like a bunch of stuff where I like gave people like gifts that were either like online things or like gift card things, and I was trying to figure out how to like wrap them up. And like one of them was like I put in another gift like an envelope to my mom, and it just had a slip of paper in it that said check your email.
I
Yeah, feel ya.
have done that, Keith. You're not alone.
Yeah, after 12, I was asking myself, I'm like, I was asking Jen, my wife, I'm sorry, not her name, but Why are we doing this?
Hey, let's go to bed and let Santa do it.
What are we doing?
Right.
My wife said that at least a half dozen times.
Half
over,
of
like,
them are
2
going to be
years.
disappointed. Half of the gifts, like, oh wow, thank you. Yeah, it's like blah blah blah.
What's funny is I called it. I had turned to my wife and I said, "You know, you're gonna be asleep at 9. And I'm gonna do all the wrapping, right?" And she's like,
Really?
"Get out of here." She's like, "I did most of the wrapping last year." I was like, "Did you though? Did you?" And then
Is that how it turns out?
And then 9 o'clock rolled around. She's like, "I'm really tired right now."
Oh my god!
And then I did all the wrapping.
In that case, in our family, there would be no gifts wrap. 'Cause I just really don't care. Like, here you go.
So what's funny is my daughters get out to the age where they want to help wrap, right? So I was like, wait, hold on. Let me go wrap your gifts, right? So then I wrapped my daughter's gifts. I said, "Okay, ready? Come on." And then they ran out and they helped me wrap everything else.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I used to want to help.
It was kind of cool.
I was trying my best to not be a Scrooge this year. I'm a bit jaded, but
It was, I gotta say, but I think it was my daughter's wrapping. The three of us wrapping together kind of made Christmas for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I just pulled out whatever cheesy Christmas movie we could find, like The Grinch or Christmas with the Cranks, which I really related to. Yeah, so that helped me get through it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Edward.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're being awfully silent over there.
Yeah.
How was your
It's on
holidays?
purpose. I didn't. This is an impromptu visit. I didn't know I was going to be here for podcast.
Well, we pulled you in.
The Pizza Man.
But, and they thought I was the pizza man. I was very honored by them thinking I had enough agility and that I was capable of such a feat.
Yeah.
Delivering a pizza.
Oh, we know you can do far more than that. Far more than that.
Yes.
I heard you were
2 pizzas.
I mean, I heard that you even guested on certain, superhero films.
Not this year. No. Not this year.
But you did recently.
I actually didn't this year because I was supposed to, and I came down with them.
Oh man.
It's all right. We know that you have.
Yeah.
We'll leave your credits
The
on
past.
it.
Super happy to see you back here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really warmed my heart.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
I was just thinking, like, what if we had like a sub series of the show where we just like dragged in pizza guys and interviewed them?
Hey, yeah. You have opinions
All
and
get fired from their job.
Right.
Where were you?
What do you think of the Stratosurian pizza guy?
Strata what? Yeah.
just like Jay Leno back in the day, we just pull people in off the street and we just start interviewing them.
That would actually be really entertaining.
That
but-
would be awesome. Can you imagine we just simply pull somebody off the street and we just put them on the spot? What did you think of the last conclave?
Just imagine the police blotter being like, report of these guys walking down the street at like 10:30 p.m. at night trying to do a podcast.
Our last podcast was on the Conclave, the movie. I don't know if you knew that or, but yeah.
Yeah, if I were that pizza guy pulled in, I'd be like, is this the conclave?
Like, are you going to tip me really well?
Yeah, so I get a bigger tip for this.
Did you order anchovies?
I'm either getting a tip or I'm getting killed.
Right. For $20, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Podcaster or a serial killer?
Aw.
He puts the lotion on the skin.
Oh. Awesome.
Hello, pizza man. I'm not sure if you've ever been on a podcast, but welcome to your last podcast.
All right. So, our first story is about Pope Francis's reminder against gossip. Yes. So apparently there was some gossip going on at the Vatican.
Oh, this sounds like gossip.
Gossip Girl XOXO.
And the story goes, quote, "Dear brothers and sisters, my deep thanks go to Cardinal Ree for his greetings and good wishes. How good to see he does not age. Thank you, Your Eminence, for your example of readiness to serve, your love for the Church." Cardinal Ree spoke about war yesterday. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem was not allowed into Gaza, as had been promised, and yesterday children were bombed. This is cruelty. This is not war. I want to tell you, because this touches my heart. Thank you for having referred to this, Your Eminence. Thank you again. And that will be referred to again in one of our next stories. The Roman Curia is made up of many working communities, more or less complex or numerous. Oh, quick. Before I continue the story, does anybody know how many people live in Vatican City?
1,000.
I hear 1,000.
Someone bet $1.
Like live there full time?
Yes.
Hey,
Full
look,
time.
I'm the only non-Catholic here, so I don't know.
Probably a couple thousand.
Couple thousand. Okay.
Yeah, I would. 1,500? I don't know.
Believe it or not, internally in Vatican City, living full time is only about 460.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very low. It's very
really?
low. Yeah, yeah, and that includes, of course, the people that ready it, as well as some of the merchants as well. So
Interesting.
all right. So back to the story. This year, in thinking about a reflection that could benefit community life in the Curia and its various offices, I chose as aspect that fits well with mystery of the Incarnation, and you'll immediately see why. Again, this is the article. I thought about speaking well of others and not speaking ill of them. This is something that concerns all of us, including the Pope, bishops, priests, consecrated persons, and the laity. In this regard, we are all equal. Why? Because it is part of our being human. Speaking well and not speaking ill is an expression of humility. And humility is the hallmark of the Incarnation, and particularly the mystery of the Lord's birth, which we are about to celebrate. An ecclesial community lives in joyful and fraternal harmony to the extent that its members walk in the way of humility, refusing to think and speak ill of one another. St. Paul, writing to the community in Rome, says, quote, "Bless and do not curse," Romans 12:14. We can also understand his words as meaning speak well and do not speak ill of others. In our case, our coworkers, our superiors, and colleagues, everyone, speak well and do not speak ill. I would suggest today, as I did about some 20 years ago at a diocesan assembly in Buenos Aires, that all of us, as a way of exercising humility, learn the practice of self-accusation as taught by the ancient spiritual masters, particularly Dorotheus of Gaza. Yes, Gaza, the very place that is presently synonymous with death and destruction.
Whoa.
Is quite ancient city where monasteries and outstanding saints and teachers flourished in the first centuries of Christianity. Dorotheus was one of them. In the footsteps of great fathers like Basil and Ephigius, he built up the church by his writings and his letters, which abound in evangelical wisdom. Today, too, by reflecting on his teachings, we can learn humility through self-accusation, so as not to speak ill of our neighbor. Sometimes in everyday speech, when someone makes a critical comment, another will think, "Look who's talking." That is an everyday speech. In one of his instructions, Dorotheus says, "When some evil befalls a humble man, he immediately looks inward and judges that he has deserved it. Nor does he allow himself to reproach or blame others. He simply puts up with his hardship without making a fuss, without anguish, and in all tranquility. Humility troubles neither him nor anyone else. Close quote. It's very interesting on this reflection because as humans, we tend to look at others and condemn rather than reflect internally and self-accusate.
I like that phrase, self-accusation. It's good.
Yeah.
Very spiritual.
Yeah. It's what the great desert fathers often reflected on because, for the first 400 years of the church, there was always people living in the desert caves, not far actually from the Holy Land. And over again, they would have these beautiful self-reflections. You could still reflect in their writings today. You can pick up any number of tomes from anywhere, your local bookstore, Amazon, Google Books. You can pick these tomes up, read through those reflections, and allow your spirit to dwell inside of that. Because we are of a very small mindset when we can find fault in others, but a great mindset we can find fault with ourselves. And I think that is like one of the greatest things we can find is self-accusation. Because self-accusation allows us to grow. If we can't find our own faults, we can't grow from those faults.
Well, was there like gossiping going on within the Vatican that, I mean, I could see like self-accusation being a remedy to like, gossip that's going on. Like it, instead of talking about so-and-so, why don't you look inward? I mean, I get the spiritual principle of that.
Yeah.
Was there stuff going on that he was trying to call out specifically?
There was inside of his notes here, I'll go down a little bit because he highlights it a little bit here. I'll drop down to a lower paragraph right here. Dear brothers and sisters, the incarnation of the Word shows us that God has not condemned us, but blessed us. What is more, it reveals to us that God, there is no condemnation, but only and always blessing. Here we can think of certain passages of the letters of the saints, Catherine of Siena, such as this, quote, it seems that God desires not to remember our offenses, or to condemn to eternal damnation, but to show us constantly mercy, and we need to talk about mercy. Yet above all, we can think of St. Paul and the magnificent first words of the hymn found at the beginning of the letter to the Ephesians. Blessed be God, the Father of our Lord, Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in Christ with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. Close quote. So all of this was actually due to the fact that there was grumblings internally, not just in the church, but there was a few even in the Vatican because of the civil unrest around the world right now. This last papacy, there's been a lot of unrest because one thing that Pope Francis has done is he has found a lot of people at fault, and he's removed a lot of people. He's removed over 36 bishops.
Interesting.
Many of them because they ignored tragedies done to the church, and they would, instead of addressing problems, they would just simply move priests around. And he was tired of that. And so instead of simply allowing these bishops to move priests around, he removed those bishops, which now allows you to remove the priests that were causing the problems. And so he's taken a lot of heat for that because some of them were very outspoken. However, a lot of them allowed tragedies underneath of them to occur. So, and that includes a lot of them. A lot of them were actually removed from South America because he's from South America and he knew a lot of the stuff that was happening down there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, so there's been a lot. There's been grumblings. Anytime you have a lot of people and anything political happening, there will be grumblings. But what he has done is he's tried to create the best conciliar environment possible to grow from those things. Because you can't grow from contention, right? Contention can be the start of something, right? Think of the body. When you are working out, all right, if you want to grow, like I recently, over the last year, I got deep into kettlebells. Why? Because it helped me create not only a better endurance in my body and a better strength in my body, create a better resilience in my joints. And so when I first started, I knew that I would have a good 31 days of pain. The first time you start anything new in any kind of physical activity, the first 31 days will be nothing but pain and tiredness. Like you are tired and painful for 31 days. And sure enough, when I started my kettlebell journey, I was tired and sore for 31 days. When you hit day 32, something changes. Your body starts changing. And you can mark the calendar. Your body starts changing on day 32. And then it gets better. It gets stronger. Your endurance goes up. Better things happen to you. And it keeps getting better and better and better. You're doing more rounds, more reps, and higher weights. And things change. Things get better. But you have to go through that initial pain period first. And the same thing has happened with everything in life. Anytime you cause any change, there's going to be pain and there's going to be unrest. And that is how you get to the next stage of what's happening. And that has happened throughout the history of the church. The history of the church. When we first started, Caesar Nero almost wiped us out. That was one of our first pains. And then we grew. And that happened throughout the ages. And it takes that pain to mature.
Yeah, I agree. I felt that way when I first started drinking. I'm like, I knew 31 days I had to get through, but after 31 days, I knew I'd be able to drink more consistently. Sorry. I couldn't resist.
Everything takes resilience.
Right. I just had to build up my tolerance.
So what you're saying, I need to drink every day. Okay, got it.
So any thoughts on that?
I mean, given the social upheaval in our world today, I don't, I'm not surprised at all by the grumblings that may be going on in or around him with maybe his cardinals or his bishops that he has to hear, he's doing enough or he's not doing enough or, they expect more out of him or like people were, I'm not surprised. Maybe he's too progressive. I don't know. You know what I mean?
There's probably always grumblings.
There's always grumblings.
Always.
So I appreciate acknowledging the fact that there is on either side and not just feeling like everything is okay.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't solve anything and I have to respect that.
Yeah. That was that was the first story of the night. Keith, what you got?
All right. Oh man. Ooh. That was deep. So I better go with some of that. So I was working. Better go something lighthearted. I was thinking up my what are my top religion news stories in 2024. It's right at the end of the year.
Oh, let's go.
So to not necessarily my top, but I feel like breaks it up pretty well is I was thinking about the real lives of Mormon wives. This is a series on Hulu, a reality TV series about a group of how many Mormon wives was it?
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a real series.
I've seen the trailer.
It centers around 8 Mormon wives. Actually, so I meant to look this up ahead of time, but like apparently one of the they have like the top dudes in the LDS church, and they're like you got like the disciples or whatever, and then you've got like whatever the highest one is. I'm really struggling with words now, but a few years ago, like his that's it's a prophet. It's the prophet, right? That's the top guy. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. So the prophet obviously prophesy, right? And a few years ago, the prophecy was that everybody should stop calling Mormons Mormons, and they should be referred to as the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, which is a freaking mouthful. So I don't know what's offensive or not offensive, but the show is called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So
it's a real thing. I didn't know.
Yeah. It's on Hulu. It was 8 episodes. It was centered around 8 LDS wives.
They're not like fundamentalists, are they? Like
no, they're not. They're not the FLDS, which is the ones with actual polygamy and all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it's
so
like the Kardashians rebranded. I don't know.
Yeah, so they are like they all clearly, they're not starving. They're all pretty good places, and they see like upper middle class Mormon wife doing stuff that would appeal to people watching a reality TV show, basically. So presumably all of these people, and I can't tell if they all were involved beforehand or if some of them got pulled in to like make the reality show complete. I can't. Some people have said the show is more authentic than other scripted reality shows, but like I don't know. But they all were part of a group called Mom Talk, and it was like Mormon moms on TikTok doing like goofy dances and like memes and stuff like that.
Was that because he showed me the thumbnail? Was the one lady the one that was like TikToking while her baby was in the NICU?
Oh no!
Oh yes!
Yeah.
That is.
I have no idea.
Right
that is Whitney Levitt
dancing while her kid was like, he had this or that, and like the poor little baby was just in the like little plastic unit.
Oh my lord!
So Whitney was kind of like the ringleader. Like she was definitely the most prolific, accomplished.
Before we move on to Whitney, do you think they changed the prophet? Do you think the do you think that prophet changed Mormons to Latter-day Saints because of the Book of Mormon, the play by Matt Trey and
maybe.
Well, that'd be giving a lot of power to a play. We're going to change our whole name because of you guys.
I mean, it is a fun whimsical play. The play has gained a lot of notoriety. It's quite famous.
You guys know where Mormons originated?
In Ohio, right?
Yeah, like 30 minutes from here.
Kirkland. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, yeah. I actually do.
I looked at like summary. This is like the Google summary, so I think this is like probably reductive, but so the prophet is Russell M. Nelson.
Yep.
And he said the word Mormon is too deeply ingrained and too easy to say. He went on. I quit trialing. While I'm thankful for my privilege of being a follower. I'm thankful for the privilege of being a follower of Jesus Christ and a member of the church which bears his name. I am not ashamed. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Google, screw you. I don't get it. Let me talk about Whitney. So she was kind of like the chief of this Mom Talk group. Oh crap! I gotta find my They're you know how like they have like wikis for every little like thing now.
Yep.
They actually have a wiki for like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So like you can like look up all the characters. Oh shoot! I just lost it. Oh dang it! Where'd it go? All right, there's Whitney. Oh shoot! I need help here. All right, Secret Lives. I gotta Google again. Sorry. Someone fill in for me. Mormon Lives, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
He needs a lifeline. Hey, Gumby.
I got a lifeline. I got a Mormon story.
I found him.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So okay. So like Whitney was like she's like the best TikToker of them. Like she's like, and so she got like this the whole show is like rooted in controversy. Like it's kind of like this meta conversation because it starts off actually not with the controversy for Whitney Levitt, but the controversy for Taylor, Frank, and Paul. So Taylor spilled the tea on TikTok at one point, saying that most of them or many of them were involved in swinger parties. And so it was this whole idea of all these, well presented, very, faithful looking Mormon wives swinging.
I mean, does that really add a line with Mormon theology, though?
Oh.
So
I don't know enough to speak on that.
So
I got
the
that.
show starts with everybody pissed off at Frankie for spreading this rumor, however true it is. But then it quickly descends into everybody isolating Whitney because Whitney's just like nasty to everybody.
before we move on, there actually was a change in Mormon theology. They are no longer allowed to have the multiple marriages. There are certain sects that are allowed to have multiple wives, but the overbranching Roman theology is one man, one wife.
Yeah, that's like the FLDS, the Fundamentalist LDS Church.
Yeah, and that's the
I don't think they're like in formal communion or anything like that.
Yeah, but overall, they've been very, very outspoken in saying that they no longer adhere to having multiple wives.
That's good that they caught up in like 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember, like, I did watch the show. Like, it's a bunch of like, it's a lot of like stupid reality show stuff, like, you know, where they're like kind of like stage something where it's like, oh, everybody's getting together for so and so's birthday, so we can manufacture a bunch of drama because like, oh, Whitney's not there because Whitney is like angry at everybody, or like Taylor isn't there because Taylor is like fighting with her boyfriend. Taylor, by the way, is the only one who has a live-in boyfriend, and so that's a big deal in the secret lives of Mormon wives. But actually, like,
It's not a secret if you made a TV show.
If you're on, I was gonna say, if you're on Netflix, how secret is it?
Hulu, be precise.
I mean,
Look, Edward, if we need you to point out the obvious.
you could say this if you were maybe Mennonite.
So, like, I guess it definitely rose the conversation to the forefront about like conservative religious spaces and like how people actually act in them, because there is this very much sense that like they are trying to be like typical women of the world, and there's a juxtaposition, like they're in a very patriarchal culture, but because they are famous people on TikTok, they're also the primary breadwinners.
Oh.
So there's like tension with the husbands, and they actually split off kind of into two groups, because there's like,
That's fascinating.
the trad Mormons, and then there's the Mormons who like break the rules. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I did not see any evidence that any of them, maybe Whitney was sometimes, but I didn't really see any clear evidence that they were wearing the magic Mormon underwear. So, you know, like the temple garments. Have you guys ever seen this? Okay, so the temple garments. Let me see if I can pull a picture here. This is great.
God, I can't see a picture. No.
It's not people. It's just like garments. It's just clothes.
Am I going to have to repent after this?
Is Matt Stone wearing it?
Oh, that's nothing. I mean, that's, oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Richard Parker.
wait,
Parker.
I know. I feel like a real sinner now.
So to be like what a Mormon that has the temple, well, it's a temple accreditation, or the temple, like the thing that says you can actually go to the temple. Like, you know, one among many other things, like you're expected to always wear this as like your underwear, or like along with your regular underwear.
Who does someone check?
That is so freaking Amish, man.
Like,
what's going on?
So, like, presumably, if you wear like certain, especially as a woman, if you wear certain typical women clothes
At all times?
they're not compatible with this. Like, the garment would show underneath it if you're wearing the garment, or if you weren't wearing the garment, it'd be pretty obvious. Like if you're wearing a tank top or something, you know?
They're guessing that you're wearing this because you're wearing weird clothes.
Say it, Edward.
Yeah,
Say
something
what
like
you
that.
mean.
Yeah. So,
Wait, so it's The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
yeah, kind of a lot of religion kind of is sometimes. So,
Wow.
to a certain extent, like there's this kind of like opening of the, you know, what people don't talk about openly, and I think this applies to a lot of religious circles. Like,
Sure.
you don't talk about breaking the rules. You know what I mean? And the more it's enforced all around you, because like, especially like Utah is like one of these like conservative religious monocultures on steroids, because it's like the whole state is Mormon, and it reflects in the culture. So it reflects in people gathering together and separating each other into like, this is like a faithful Mormon versus this is a Mormon who breaks the rules, which we see in like micro levels in say like individual churches, but we don't see that in like our broader culture over here because we're not like a religious monoculture like that.
Okay, I would have called my BS flag on you, except that it's a dry state, so I believe you.
Well, and so there you go. So another thing that pops up a lot is soda. So like, you know, there's some Mormons in the group who drink, some, you know, the bad ones drink, bad, quote unquote. But they often highlight the specialty soda shops, like because they can't drink coffee or alcohol, like they go totally overboard on gourmet soda. And there's like a whole giant industry behind it. And they highlight several of these soda shops in the show.
Wait, so I heard something, and I don't know if it's true or not, that like they used to not be allowed to have caffeine or soda.
That was true.
And
That was true.
then they changed it, and the Mormon Church now owns Coca-Cola, or like a big portion of Coca-Cola.
Oh, that I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're a large stockholder. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Wow.
But either way, there is
wild.
So here's a funny thing I looked up after the show. So think of everything that isn't like coffee or alcohol, and think about people getting like kind of addicted to it. Did you know that? So we've had a bunch of crumble cookies.
No idea what you're talking about.
Wait,
you guys ever heard of crumble cookies?
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I have a question. You said there's something you looked up after this show.
Yes. What are you talking about? Huh?
You looked it up after the show.
What do you mean?
I mean, the show's still going.
But it was season one. After watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that show?
Right.
Oh,
So you guys know crumble cookie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of them popped up around here.
Oh, yeah,
Crumble Cookie is a Utah-based franchise. Like Mormons, they if you don't have caffeine, well, you need soda, but you know you need to branch out from soda. So what's the next sugary thing? Cookies.
Yeah.
So getting like obsessed about like making like crazy gourmet cookies at mass scale, crumble cookie.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes everywhere. And it's like there's a lot of money behind satisfying the need of an entire state of Utah to indulge in something. Where am I going with this? I don't know. What was the dang? There definitely is like some tension with like the women being, you know, well, we said the primary breadwinner, so like that's a tension with the husbands.
That's fascinating.
One of the things is which one is it? It's Jen Affleck is probably the husband, the wife,
insurance company.
So actually, what's funny is her husband is related to Ben Affleck.
I was gonna ask, but
actually they emphasize this several times. But her husband is probably one of the most conservative ones, and they do this whole bit where they're all going to like support their friend and going to see is it the Chippendales? I think they're going to go see the Chippendales.
No.
And her husband, they do this whole thing where her husband's like, "You are like the most horrible person ever, and I'm going to divorce you because you saw the Chippendales."
Oh my god! You know what Chippendales is?
Pajamas to Chippendales.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
They're like two little chipmunks.
Christopher Lee and Patrick Swayze.
Christmas chipmunks.
You know, it's like they got the bow tie and the pants, but they have no shirt, and they're doing dancing.
Yeah.
And it's like a Las Vegas. Like, there's so many weird things that are Las Vegas shows that we wouldn't even think about like looking at around here, but like it's just on every night at Las Vegas. So that's the kind of thing, you know.
Monte Cristo.
I wish I could, but
it's a little cigar, a tiny cigar.
I want to get Nookie tomorrow. That's not going to work for that.
That's a fascinating story, Keith.
Would you say you wanted to buy a Nokia?
No, I'm not going to go there yet. So I think what's a broader interesting trend behind like the show is part of it, but I feel like this has been the year where like a lot of Mormons have been talking like in critique of like very conservative religiosity. Like there's a lot of Mormons on YouTube, like Alyssa Grenfell is one that shows up a lot on my feed, who's like kind of exposing like this is what's going on in these, you know, like secret temple ceremonies and all this stuff, and this is how you know these hierarchies are maintained. And it makes me wonder, like, the more mass media you have on people talking about their like we're only in like the first 10 or 20 years of people talking about these experiences that were totally isolated from the rest of the world.
Keith, how do you find the time?
I don't know.
Like you manage a lot of subjects in a very small amount of time.
I forgot one thing. I remember this. It was so weird. So, one of the episodes they're juggling with like their religious conservatism and like like rules on sexuality stuff with the fact that they're getting paid a lot of money on their TikTok to advertise vibrators.
Wait, what?
Where I'm going, but like that actually happens a lot. Like there's a lot of religious deconstruction like influencers, and like the sex toy industry like find targets like people who are religiously conservative but curious, and tries to sell them vibrators through influencers. And this is just one conduit of it.
Wow.
I've
had too much to drink.
I would say that's a slight conflict of interest. I mean,
here's my Mormon story. I forgot what event was going on downtown, but my wife was downtown with the family. The kids were off doing something, and Jen was just hanging around. There was a ton of people downtown, and this group of people came up to my wife, and they just started talking. My wife's very outgoing. She loves to talk. She started hitting it off with this family. He started talking. Next thing you know, I don't know how far into the conversation they were like, "Oh, we're Mormon. We live, out in Utah somewhere. Why don't you and your family come and visit us?"
that
away, like
really nice.
Right away, and they were that upfront about it. And my wife was like, "Oh, I mean, let's get to know each other first."
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But they exchanged information like numbers or whatever, and apparently addresses, which I was not happy about.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, it can't be that hard to look up my wife. She's J-Lo. In Cleveland. Right? Anyways, it was like not even a month later, we got something in the mail from them, from their family in Utah. Like
interesting.
Like this Christmas package with amazing gifts from Utah.
Oh,
that you could only get from there.
Oh,
from their farm.
Huh.
And then at the very bottom, there was like these tracts about Mormonism. Like, oh, okay, that's what this is. But
Yeah.
it happened for like 3 months straight. We kept
Cost of customer acquisition, like that's a bit. They can spend a lot of money on
yeah.
trying to. Yeah, it's a ploy. I mean, they're super nice. I've never met a Mormon who's an asshole.
They were
Maybe I haven't
incredibly
met them
nice, and seemingly so genuine and transparent, and all of that. It lures you in.
Yeah.
And they gave enough gifts for our entire family.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking about like local candy from their area, invites to their home to stay there, our family. And I'm like, when I saw that invite, that personal invite to Utah, I'm like, Jen, you need to cut this off now. I'm like,
right. And you probably felt bad cutting it off.
Yeah, not really. I didn't feel bad. They may have felt bad.
I mean, but I would feel the same way. It has to happen now. It has to be cut off now.
Yes.
Or it's going to keep, because if you respond with any, you give them an inch, they're going to take however many miles are between here and Utah.
That's exactly what I felt. And on one hand, I was like,
good point.
I was like really respectful of their tenacity to really push it in indirect ways. But on the other hand, I was like, man, this is just like it. And maybe this is my own bias, but it felt way too cultish to me.
Yeah.
And I felt like, man, we're being lured in. We're being, enticed by the the candy, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the beautiful things. The fact that they have
The candy's gonna run out.
the fact that they have acres of lands with horses, and our family could just come stay there. We could come, why
Willy
did you?
Wonka will always
you know,
have candy.
Because my wife would make another pretty wife. Like, is that what was going
Someone
on?
else, or because you're already
My
Oh,
daughters.
picture.
Ouch.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, my mind was thinking all these different things.
Yeah. Oh, I could see where. Yeah.
And I'm like, we just need to draw a line now. Like, hey, we just met and you were nice people to talk to. That's what it is. This is our life. Go be happy Mormons.
You just unlocked a memory for me that I think
Gotcha.
might be able to help me tie this mess of stuff together. Have you guys heard of Ballerina Farm?
Wait, what?
Ballerina Farm.
What? That's where John Wick came from.
No.
No, it's like a trend.
Yes. So it's a trad wife
Someone's was talking
influencer
about her, and
account.
she's been, yeah.
So it's this account. Well, it's the name of their farm in Utah, and it's I forgot how many. So she has 8 children. It's Hannah. Her name is Hannah Nealman, who runs this account called Ballerina Farm, which is the name of the farm. So it's one of those trad wife influencer accounts where it's kind of designed to show the beauty of being the traditional wife who is making her own cheese and sewing clothes for all of her kids, and being this like kind of like the homesteader lifestyle as well. So in what I forget what time this year, it was sometime this year, a reporter from the New York Times went out to interview Hannah, and they could not pin her down. Every time they tried to get her to talk on her own, like she had to go do something else. She had to go take care of this kid, go do something on a farm or whatever. And her husband always had to be there. And so what was originally intended to be this kind of probably, sympathetic or just like human interest kind of look into like what's behind this influencer, it actually became this like cry for help, where it was like pretty obvious in terms of what the reporter was seeing, that she was being coerced and controlled by her husband. And I guess like to kind of tie it together with the Secret Lives of Mormons, like some of them are more empowered from others. Actually, like one episode is actually them celebrating the divorce of one of them from like an absolutely horrible dude. But like we're getting this kind of like unprecedented access to seeing how women navigate cultures where they're right, like their ability to like have social mobility or to do whatever they want to is severely restricted, if not by law, but by like or church doctrine, but by like just the soft power structures that are already there. So I feel like we saw a lot of this year, like basically these like things that were between like I'm doing great in traditional hierarchies and this is an actual cry for help. And it's going to be this interesting dynamic because I feel like we are as a society veering back towards a lot of traditional hierarchies, but at the same time social media makes it that much easier to elevate the cries for help.
That's interesting. I kind of see the other side of it, really.
No, please tell.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm like, if my wife would have been like, oh, yeah, we're going to visit this family, without even telling me, I would have been like, what? I'm not saying that she would have, but she certainly could have in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
Just said, hey, yeah, no, I think we need to go visit them. I think we need to become a part of their lives and their culture.
I see what you're saying. At
What?
that time, you're thinking kind of like, are you trying to pull us into like a mass wedding?
Well, what I was thinking was, if I was there with Jen at that moment, I don't think the discussion would have gotten to that point. That's what I was thinking. I don't think they would have felt as inclined to invite me.
Yeah, I can like attract her, but like you would like I can't, like I'm less likely to cross your authority.
And I can't say that for certain.
Quote unquote authority.
Right. But that's what I'm feeling. I'm like, maybe they felt more liberty because it was just her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my guards and my red flags would have been up like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And so maybe on her
I
side,
practice,
maybe on
Second
her
Amendment.
side, I don't know, like I don't know much about her.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why her husband was around when they were trying to interview and get into their like lifestyle, and because I mean, who knows? Like what you're saying, like I want to be around so these things don't happen. Maybe that was the same case on their side of the.
It could have been a push or pull. Like it could have been all him, and it could have been her telling him to help her in this way. There is an interesting dynamic in all this, where like if you are a woman under a crushing patriarchy, but you are well off, you are well provided for, and you have maybe authority either through like actual like say like church authority or say through influencer authority. If you are a woman under patriarchy with authority over other women, you are in a position of power. So that actually, if you are to exit that, like due to quote unquote, oppression, which maybe is real oppression, maybe, but maybe to you it's not perceived as oppression, because if you exit that, you lose all your power.
Right.
And this actually illustrates in a lot of contexts why you get a lot of women to go along with the curtailment of rights for women, because there's a lot of power to be had as being the top women under patriarchy.
Interesting. I hear what you're saying. So there's different factors and nuances that would affect that thinking. I mean, look, if there are certain things that appealed to me during that conversation with my wife, I would have been like, wait, how many acres do you own?
There are some other stories like this. Does anybody besides me here watch anime?
Not much.
No, that's just you.
I figured, unfortunately. Has anybody watched Berserk?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Is that a Viking thing or
No. But it is. It's you have to have a strong stomach to watch it.
Sorry, just trying to help you.
It's Viking level. It's harsh, but a lot of it is very much like the old world. Like they paint a very hardcore world like it was back then. And there's a lot of things that go on inside of it, and I won't paint those right now because we're not Bible of Brews After Dark right now. But there's a lot of harsh things that happen inside the story, and some of that for some of the characters is so they can maintain power. They endure certain things with certain people to maintain the power they have. And so it kind of jives with your theory of, do people maintain certain positions despite their abuse so they can maintain their authority?
Yeah. And this is not a specifically Mormon thing. This happens in Catholic subcultures. This happens in evangelical subcultures. As we were talking about this, I was thinking about, I think I read this book this year. Have you guys heard of the book called The Woman They Wanted by Shannon Harris? So Shannon Harris is the ex-wife of Joshua Harris. Does anybody remember who Joshua Harris is?
Yeah.
The I Kiss Dating Goodbye guy, who has later disavowed his book that was about courtship, and actually has left Christianity altogether. And she wrote basically
purity movement and all that.
Yeah, she described the process in the life of becoming a pastor's wife, and how she basically they were always under the tutelage of the leaders of the Sovereign Grace Ministries Church, C.J. Mahaney and his wife. And so like she would be under C.J. Mahaney's wife, and like basically her job as she was being trained to be the lead pastor's wife was to tell like other pastors' wives that they needed to give up their dreams to support their husbands. And like so it became this like she would be able to have power by telling other women in the church how to be submissive to their husbands.
Wow.
And she found that horrible, and that's why she's no longer part of that.
Ouch.
That's such a real thing.
Yeah.
And I know personally women who have gone through that. I mean, dear friends and all of that. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's harsh.
All I can say is when you become a father of daughters, something doesn't jive anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Shh. Father of daughters. Huh.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, my whole world changed when I became my father.
Yeah. But
So, before we get too serious and we move to the next subject, we're going to introduce the
Oh,
next
thank
speaker.
God. We need more
Okay,
beer.
So, this is Thirsty Dog, and we try to do this once a year, okay? So, every year we try to try the 12 Dogs of Christmas and Christmas Ale. We don't have Christmas Ale with us tonight, but we do have 12 dogs with us tonight. So,
That logo is so cute. That little dog with the beer mug.
it is, right? So I'm going to pour Gumby's right here, right now.
There's no way I can drink 2 of these. You better have one.
Holy cow. There is so much head on this beer. Half of this beer is head right now. Wow.
Uh-oh.
That is a lot of head. My
Kind
lord.
of stiff. All right. That's not quite nutmeg, but something else. What is that?
So
My nose still don't work.
in previous years, and I'm still pouring mine right now because I just poured Gumby's. Holy cow. Which, by the way, make sure you pour down the middle of the beer because that releases the CO2 and gases so you don't feel bloated later.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's my hard stop on drinking alcohol. It's not that like I get too much alcohol in me. It's like I have so much beer in me. I just like
So,
I need to burp.
all
whatever.
all Cicero certified people will tell you, make sure you pour down the center of the glass to release the CO2s so you don't feel bloated.
Nice.
So
That to me is drinking
Ooh.
responsibly. Help my tummy.
Wow. Okay, so there's just a very hint of nutmeg.
That is another smooth Christmas ale.
I smell maybe a little bit of
Even
raisin.
smoother.
Maybe a little raisin on top of that.
I still have no idea how the hell you're smelling so much raisin everywhere. But of course, my
Taste-
nose is
it's
still
there.
not working
It's there.
after being sick.
Taste 12 dogs. I'm just
Oh, okay. So I taste a little bit of maybe cinnamon and cardamom.
I just see Aaron like going outside and like putting his nose to the ground and being like, I smell raisins.
this is very similar to the bourbon.
earthy.
Very similar character to the bourbon we drank. the
I-
Cleveland
I
bourbon,
think- So these two would
see that,
complement each other
but it's
quite well.
carbonated.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right on, Gumby.
Wow.
Because I do taste a lot of that, like,
It is kind of bourbony
yeah,
on a lighter
Mm-hmm.
scale. But
it's got that slight cinnamon, nutmeg flavor to it. Yeah, that's nice.
I like it.
Yeah.
Who is this?
12 dogs. All right, sorry. It is Thirsty Dog, 12 dogs.
that's why I said I tasted 12 dogs. I did not like it.
That's pretty
don't like
good.
it?
No, just
No.
kidding.
Yeah, there's definitely, I taste both the cinnamon and nutmeg right off the bat.
8 point. Is it 8.3?
Yeah, I think it's 8.5.
Oh man, everybody's packing the ABV tonight.
I know.
We have not had a single beer under 8, I'm pretty sure.
That is your Christmas ales, my friend. Your Christmas ale. And let's face it, because
Oh, man,
so many people are lonely on Christmas, they pack a little more ABV on top.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up tomorrow.
I mean,
is that why they do it? That's really kind of sad.
we're just taking one for the team. That's all we're doing.
I hate to say it, but I have an article about that for later.
That's really
So there actually was a quick study done among pubs, and they said that the one of the most packed nights of the year is Christmas Eve
Makes sense.
because there's
It's
so
hard.
many people that can't be with family.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever watch like the average like 90s sitcom and think of like, man, I'm a little bit jealous. I can't be alone in a bar.
Are you talking about
Like-
Cheers?
No, like I don't know, like The Simpsons or like Drew Carey or I don't know. Like, they're always in a bar and I'm like, I'm never in a bar. I'm always like putting a kid to bed or something.
Always at the church.
Don't you think that church should have its own bar?
Oh man. We got all those like coffee shops in church now. It's about.
We could all do for a little bit more honesty.
Wait,
within-
so if evangelicals do coffee shops in church,
Yeah.
like mega church especially,
Yeah.
we have some really big Catholic churches around here.
Get a liquor
Like-
license.
They could definitely like what's the one in Brunswick? Dang it. That
Oh,
church-
Brunswick. That's
think it's a
Basil. St. Basil.
No, not Basil. That's Brexville.
Oh,
Yeah,
Brunswick.
not Ambrose. Is it Ambrose?
Yeah,
Maybe
Ambrose
that's
is in
pretty big,
Brunswick.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's like literally the biggest church in the diocese.
Yeah.
It is freaking huge, man.
it is John.
That church could support a bar, a full-time bar,
They probably could.
right after mass. All the masses, right after all the masses.
At least wine.
No, go beer. They can do all.
All right.
They can do mixed drinks too.
Honestly, beer is a lower ABV than wine. So
I feel like there's a thing like with churches that get like event-based liquor licenses.
Oh yeah,
So they could just do that like
Yeah.
once a week.
all the time.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, every weekend.
I do remember from something I've had like run-ins with like parish council and like Knights of Columbus stuff, and I remember like there is a difference between like the event liquor license,
Yep.
and the real one and like the full-time one, but
The
like
real one you can't get really because there's like so many that are available in a county.
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
I
But
know
it's not-
someone who just sold theirs for like millions.
So
Yeah, it's hard to get.
Dang.
here's the honest truth. There is a caveat to that. Certain locations have predisposed liquor license, and if you pick up a lease to that,
Right.
you already have
Oh.
a liquor license.
Right. So you can buy like an establishment or like buy a
I know.
shitty bar.
I know one
because
in
you
Old
wanna use it
Brooklyn
somewhere
here.
else.
I know one location, one location, one suite here in Old Brooklyn that has 3 liquor licenses.
Dang, man.
Are
So
they
what you're
using
saying
all
is
of them?
Saint
It's not even open right now.
Oh, jeez. So St. Ambrose could buy a bar and then have a liquor license. And St. Ambrose could definitely buy a bar.
But I feel what you're saying about the evangelicals on the Protestant side. It's like we're all faking it with our coffees and our flu coffees. When we really want a whiskey.
Exactly.
Just one little shot of whiskey.
I respect coffee too. I mean, like, if coffee's your thing, fine, serve coffee. I'm just saying alcohol is Catholics' thing, so they should be serving alcohol.
Listen, if you're Irish, you get the best of both worlds and do an Irish coffee. It's okay. You could do this thing.
I'm gonna look at the real estate across the street from St. Ambrose.
I never understood why Trader Joe's can't get liquor when in California they can.
Really? Trader Joe's doesn't have liquor?
Oh, I've never.
I guess I haven't been there enough to
noticed
They've
that.
notice that.
Beer and
No,
wine.
in
They've got
California, in some states in the West, you can at Trader Joe's, but not here in Ohio.
Dang.
the states differ.
I think that goes back to like the Prohibition times or mafioso. I don't know. Mafioso.
This goes back to my like bugaboo about state
Bugaboo.
politics.
What is that?
So like
Oh, that's a conjoined beetle.
state like okay, so Ohio is a single party state now, and supposedly the Republican Party is all about like unfettered capitalism. And I'm like, if Ohio Republicans were actually about unfettered capitalism, I would be able to buy alcohol at Target on Sundays.
Wait, I think you can.
No, you can't. It's all blocked off. I checked it like less than a month ago.
I can enjoy an eagle.
You can buy that $6 wine at Target.
I mean, I can buy it anywhere else, but like, I mean, yes, the Cypress,
Is that
whatever
really good?
corner store.
Look, Keith, I've ran into plenty of Republicans at Ohio State liquor license on state.
Did you see Republicans?
Republicans. Yeah.
Give me your keys.
Republicans.
Let me give you the keys to my e-bike here.
Every plumber is a Republican.
An e-bike?
I drove here on an e-bike. I always ride here on an e-bike.
Nice.
He's a smart man.
I'm sure it's like raining a ton out there tonight. Not seeing, I'm gonna be screwed. You have something about Jimmy Carter here, huh?
You have sad news, gents.
Oh, is this our next news?
It is.
Oh, boy.
Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States, has passed away.
Oh, my God. I didn't know he was still alive.
You know what? They were showing him like towards the end of the whatchamacallit election, that thing.
Yeah.
And saying like, oh, he was so excited to vote for Kamala, and when they showed his face, I'm like, it doesn't look like anything. It didn't look. It was very sad.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he was actually a very active president, trying to help a lot of things. To his credit, and he comes from a peanut farming family. I mean, like they were like next to nothing. So to his credit,
He made a lot of jokes about like peanut gallery.
Probably did. The article says the former United States President Jimmy Carter has died at age 100. The longest lived American president died on Sunday, more on a year after entering hospice care at his home in the small town of Plains, Georgia, where he and his wife, Rosalind, who died at 96 in November 2023, spent most of their lives, the Carter Center said. The Georgia peanut farmer served one turbulent term in the White House before building a reputation as a global humanitarian and champion of democracy. He defeated President Gerald Ford in 1976, which I was 2 years old, promising to restore trust in government, but lost to Ronald Reagan 4 years later, and soaring amid inflation, gas station lines, and the Iran hostage crisis. He and his wife Rosalind, the former Carter Center, and he earned a Nobel Prize while making himself the most active and internationally engaged of former presidents. The 39th president leveraged his ambition with a keen intellect, a deep religious faith, and prodigious work ethic, producing diplomatic missions into his 80s and building houses for the poor well into his 90s.
Wow.
Quote, my faith demands, this is not optional, my faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I am, wherever I can, for as long as I can, whatever I have to try to make a difference. Close quote. And so was Jimmy Carter.
Pour one out. I won't actually pour one out because I don't want to mess up your floor. So I haven't read it all, but there was an article on Politico called Jimmy Carter, the Last Progressive Evangelical. And I do know from reading a lot of other books, like that was like the end of Jimmy Carter was like the true beginning of like a full-throated moral majority, religious right. Like you draw a straight line from Ronald Reagan defeating Jimmy Carter to Donald Trump today.
There is definitely progressions in the Christian faith, and I don't mean that in a positive term. Where you see people, let's say all the way back to like, the 40s and 50s, working towards common goals and helping humanity, going into the 60s and 70s being a bit more liberal and self-centered than what they want to do, into the 80s where they kind of just neglect a lot of their neighbors, but it was still a good time. Into the 90s where everything was kind of just, a blur. But when you look at these eras, you see a progression from I'm helping the country and my neighbors become better to I'm helping my family become better to I'm helping me become better, right? You almost see a slow regression to it's about me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's personal. I think that's just like your personal feelings, but
I would say cultural. If you look at the cultural emphasis of this country, let's take the famous quote from JFK. Ask not what your country can do for you, but you can do for your country. He comes out of that era. He comes out of the era of we live for what we can do for the common goal, right? and then we move into to what I can do for my family, and then we move more towards how do I make me famous. I think we see
say what you mean and mean what you say.
We see
say this.
Yeah, we see a reflection of this in TV. Look at your TV in the 40s and 50s.
I don't watch the TV. The TV is a time waster where people just watch other people living lives instead of living their own.
You should try it. So
I don't. I'm not interested in wasting my life. I realize how short it is.
If you look at a study at the TV in the 40s and 50s, it was predominantly geared towards the commonality of goals. And you move into the 70s, into the 80s, it's more towards what's good for me and those around me. And then you move into the 90s and 2000s where it's predominantly reality-based TV where it's just about me. And you see more and more it becomes progressively more centrist.
I wanted to read this statement that Trump posted about Jimmy Carter. I just heard of the news about the passing of Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. Those of us who have been fortunate enough to have served as president understand this is a very exclusive club, and only we can relate to the enormous responsibility of leading the greatest nation in history. The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans, like you were saying. Lost my spot. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Melania and I are thinking warmly of the Carter family and their loved ones during this difficult time. We urge everyone to keep them in their hearts. And oh, was I not speaking in? Could you still hear me?
I could hear you pretty good.
It said in a separate post about an hour later, Trump wrote, President Jimmy Carter is dead at 100 years of age. That's an accomplishment. 100 years old, like even if it's not a good 100, that's an accomplishment because this life is short.
My great-grandma was somewhere between 100 and 103. We're not sure because she kind of, fibbed a little bit about her age. But so she was between 100 and 103 when she passed away.
That's an accomplishment. Like, okay, regardless of what you think of Trump or whatever, but here he's saying something. He is our democratically elected president-elect, whatever. He is saying we owe him a debt of gratitude. It's a very exclusive club. That's true. Like anyone who has made it to be president of the United States, that's a big deal. And anyone who's made it to 100 years old, that's a big deal. Because most people do not. While I strongly disagreed with him philosophically and politically, I also realized that he truly loved and respected our country and all that it stands for. Stands for. He worked hard to make America a better place. For that, I give him my highest respect. He was truly good. He was a truly good man, and of course, will be greatly missed. He will also... Oh my gosh, my eyes. He was also very consequential, for more than most presidents. After he left the Oval Office, warmest condolences from Melania and I to his wonderful family. I know I wasn't speaking straight into it. I don't know if I was.
I tried to move it and made weird noises. I was curious if you had I'm generally I agree with you, and I was curious if you had examples from TV going through eras.
I didn't pull examples, but
I'm trying to think of certain shows.
So like for I can give you a few examples.
Sure.
So
I jog my memory.
I grew up a lot of old TV. So like when I lived out in the country, we didn't have cable. All right. So what was on broadcast TV was mostly 40s, 50s, 60s, and some stuff from the 70s and 80s. So like I grew up with things like Gilligan's Island and Leave It to Beaver and when you grow up with that stuff, every long speech is about how we make life better for all of those around us. And that really echoed with me when I was young. And growing up around that. And again, I was a country boy, right? And so that kind of echoes with you when you live on a farm.
Yeah.
You know, and you're hearing this stuff and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm helping other farmers. I worked on several farms to earn extra money, but while I was earning extra money, I was also helping those farms. And we're all helping each other to make the community better, right? And when you're not working inside an agricultural centrific life, it becomes a little more about just you. Sometimes you and your family, but more about you. And you start to lose focus on those things that make a community a community. Because I should never live for me. If I live for me, I actually lose my own value.
But say what you mean and mean what you say. Well, how does that apply to today, like to what we're talking about?
I'm actually emphasizing that now. If I live for me, I actually lose my own value because my only value is what is placed in others. There is no value in me unless I place my value in other people. What I do for others is my value. And I think we lose that. And I think we lose that when we lose that contact with our communities and our agricultural, quote unquote, centers. Because my value is the value of others. When I'm not imparting and helping other people, then I'm not helping me. Because the only help I give to me is what I give to other people. That is how I build me. Every person is only value. They're your only value. Any person's only value. And I mean this in any industry. I mean this in any industry, in any station in life. Your only value is the value you build in other people. And if you are not building other people, you don't have a value. And that I mean that in a very organic way. Think about this. Nothing lives on an island. A plant cannot live without light, nutrients, and water. There's no life, right? A seed cannot ignite without light, water, and nutrients. Nothing lives in a vacuum. Nothing lives in and of itself except God himself. Everything outside of God only finds value from all the things it imparts from other things. We live organically, harmoniously with everything around us.
Well,
So just thinking in terms of like presidents and policy, like
Yes.
the end of the Carter administration, the beginning of the Reagan administration marks the end of like the liberal, and not like the liberal as in like leftist, but like the like liberal as in like liberal democracy consensus that the success of America was a partnership between industrialists and the public and the citizens, the government, all of us as a collective. And then with the Reagan administration, that transitions to that the industrialists are their own creators of their success. This is where the top level tax rates start to go way down. And it's the beginning of the vast income inequality, where now we have the very richest among us who just have so much money, they have no freaking clue what to do with it. They just, here's $1 billion for a sports team. Here's $300 million for a super PAC.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So there's a broadening. There's a really good study done on this from the 70s to today, and there is a huge upheaval in what the lower class and upper class are, right? And the middle class was a huge, broad scope, predominantly because of unions, and unions created the middle class. The middle class is disappearing rapidly. It started in the 70s. Today, there is very little middle class left. And it's because of the distinguishing elements of what the union was. And it's amazing to think. Is anybody familiar with the Indus Valley?
You mean like in India, right?
Yeah. So the Indus Valley, which was, what was it, 786 like BC, right?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right.
Around there. Okay. So
we'll go with that.
It does sound kind of right, actually.
So if you look back then, so this was way before that. Hold on, I'm way off. No, it was.
That doesn't sound that off, right? Really?
Yeah, I think so. It was way before.
Oh, dang.
That. Anyway, so the Indus Valley district, because Indus Valley pre-existed Egypt. So we're talking about.
Are you sure?
32,000, 33, yeah, about 30, almost 5,000 years ago.
Wait, are you saying Mesopotamians went to the Indus Valley before they went to Egypt?
Yeah, so it was almost 5,000 years ago. Yeah. So because the Indus Valley pre-existed Egypt. So you're talking about 5,000 years ago. So if you look at the Indus Valley, it was one of the most remarkable societies that have ever existed. The number one thing about it was almost completely egalitarian. Does anybody understand the ramifications?
Whoa, they didn't eat meat?
So equal rights. We don't know a lot about this culture, but we do know it was completely egalitarian. How do we know that? Everybody's homes were the same size.
Oh, interesting.
Even the ruler.
Well, I'm happy for them. I hope they made it.
Everybody's homes were the same size. In fact, and here's how precise the engineering was. Every house, peasant and king, again, same size, were all built from the identical same size stones. Every stone was identically same size. Here's how genius they were. Every home had plumbing. 5,000 years ago, every home had plumbing, and it worked. Like they actually researched this, and every home had working plumbing.
I don't know, but in that society, like, what do you want to attain to? Like, because doesn't matter what you do, like, you're gonna make out as good as the king, right?
But that's the
what
thing.
do you strive for?
Oh, see, now you're thinking.
Oh, like I don't normally think, Aaron.
So we need to not think what is about me. We need to think is, how do we become the best? We become the best.
I think that is like a.
But wait. That's what they did. They rose above every other society around them. Because instead of thinking about the king, because the other societies around them, they had kings. And the king was the almighty one. And he was the pinnacle. He was the direct conduit to God. Conduit to God. Right? So every one of these, and every one of them had a bunch of failings, except for the Indus Valley. The Indus Valley was completely egalitarian, and everybody had equal rights, and they rose above.
They still died.
Everybody else.
Interesting.
Plumbing's actually a really good example of that, because so suppose you only give the rich people plumbing, Well, think back to like medieval like London, and people just like they crapped in a pot and they dumped it out their window into
Yeah.
the street.
It's true.
Like
Ugh.
if all of the people who
Can
can't
you imagine?
afford the plumbing are dumping their crap in the street, you know who can get the diseases too?
Everybody.
The kings, yeah.
Sanitation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The Indus Valley people became the most prosperous of every single city around them.
Interesting.
And that's because they had complete egalitarian rights, because they thought the whole city thought as a union. They didn't think like all of the peasants around them who had a king and all their subservience. They thought like a union, and they worked together as a union.
That's it. I'm not eating meat.
Sold.
Back to Jimmy Carter, two things pop out, stand out for me with him. One is he brought the nation, so to speak, out of crisis at 3 Mile Island, right?
Yeah.
When the power plants melted down and the nation was, nuclear technology was kind of newer to the public. And everybody was in fear that if it melted down, we were going to go all the way to China, and China Sun Japan kind of.
China.
And he was advised, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's not safe. But he went there to reassure the public. So I always respect him for that.
Nice. Can I bring up something completely different about Jimmy Carter?
Let me finish.
Wait, second thing.
Oh, sorry. I forgot the second thing.
And this is in regards to his what I felt he as a president represented ideally was that, being centrist and moderate. I think it kind of died with him, the ideal of what a president could be, because he oversaw the Oslo Accords. And, trying to bridge the gap between the Palestinians and the Jews, and really looking over that. And that was killed when on the Jewish side, they assassinated Rabin on the Jewish side, who was negotiating for the Jews again, with the Palestinians. And so it wasn't Jimmy Carter's fault. The, extremist on the Jewish side assassinated Rabin. But Carter was intent on really this problem needs to be addressed and go away and need to be dealt with. And so I always respected him for that, that he tried to do that. And he was a champion of the Palestinian people even after he was president till the end of his days, and always spoke out in advocacy for them. But he was in no means hard right or hard left.
Right.
So the ideal of what it meant for a president to kind of bridge that, I feel kind of died with him. Because like you said, after, Reaganomics kicked in and the neocons got into office, it just changed.
Yeah. Well, few people realize, because many people speak against the way the taxation system is set up right now. It was trickle-down economics was actually set up under Reagan. And very few people realize that.
Yeah, for sure.
So the reason why a billionaire pays 3% taxes and you pay 34% taxes was actually set up under Reagan. And very few people realize that.
Reaganomics.
All right, I got something completely different to wrap us up with Jimmy Carter, okay?
Okay.
Have you guys ever followed or checked out Derek Guy on Twitter?
That name rings a bell. Why?
So his account is called Die Workwear. He is a men's fashion journalist. And so
is he responsible for skinny jeans? I hate skinny jeans.
So he's responsible for those threads where he talks about he takes some anti-gay influencer and he explains how the suit they're wearing was actually influenced by gay culture in the 90s. It's great. So he brings up on Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday on it's October 1. Yeah, there you go. In honor of Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday, let's take a look at why he's one of our underappreciated style icons.
Oh, no pun intended.
Really?
Yeah. So Carter's tailored outfits during his time as president were heavily shaped by the trends of the era. He often wore wide lapels, long collar points, and fashionable ties, wide cut with wild prints. So looking good here in a tie, you know. But photos of him from that era largely aged well because he never ventured into the extremes. His outfits also kept good proportions, such as having the width of the tie echo the width of the lapel, and the shirt collar points being long enough to tuck under the jacket, mostly. The tailoring is well done. Carter's clothes hung well, with rarely any puckering or pulling. Today, you often see trousers ripple down the back of the wearer's leg because they have an overly long back rise. Very little of that here. Importantly, they allowed for free and comfortable movement. Carter's jacket hugged his neck even when he raised his arms, and his trousers were cut full enough so he could hop a fence. It's hard to do this today in overly slim pants. And it goes on and on. There's a pretty sexy picture of him here with a bolo tie somewhere, talking to his versatility in the different outfits he wore. Hey, he's looking good casual here. He sometimes wore cardigans with patterned trousers. That can be something of a daring look.
Cardigans?
If you're uncertain, bring the pattern up top. The eye is more comfortable resting up top. Here he is, like in activewear. I personally like him best when he's in his sportswear, such as rugged chinos, jeans, flannel shirts, vests, and trucker caps he'd wear to go fishing. IMO, these outfits look great, even from far astream. Here he is in activewear. That's not the bolo tie yet. A photo of boots he'd wear with trucker jackets and jeans. You can get similar boots today from Russell Moccasin. Those are good-looking boots. Here he is in denim on denim is intimidating. Try a brown shearing jacket. Who do you feel wore it better, Carter or Zuckerberg? Look at Carter. Very, very neat proportions here. Look at Mark Zuckerberg.
Our audience can't see.
And you can barely see his, you can't even see his wrist there. He has no idea what's.
He has a lot more money.
So
he can afford to show
moving
it.
on.
Yeah.
So
What the heck?
Well, that just proves that you can be both fashionable and, in touch with your humanity as a president. Yeah.
So
And actually, a lot of this guy's account proves that you can't be fashionable and fascist at the same time.
Oh, I like that. Words.
So Gumby, you brought up a point here before Gumby trailed on. I'm sorry, before Keith trailed on to skinny jeans, and that is the Gaza situation.
The Oslo Accords?
So the latest story, the last story of the night is Pope Francis urges the probe into the characteristic genocide by Israel into Gaza. So, and this comes out of The Citizen. I quote, as more countries support South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, Pope Francis has joined the foray and suggested the global community should study whether Israel's military campaign in Gaza constitutes a genocide of the Palestinian people. This is Pope Francis' most explicit criticism yet of Israel's conduct in its year-long war in Gaza. It has killed at least 43,846 Palestinians and wounded 103,740 since the 7th of October 2023. An estimated 1,193 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks that day, and more than 200 were taken captive. According to some experts, what is happening in Gaza is the characteristics of a genocide, the Pope said, next was published on Sunday by the Italian daily La Stampa. He said we should investigate carefully to determine whether it fits into the technical definitions formulated by jurists and international bodies, he had added. With Israel continuing its bombing of Gaza and the Palestinian deaths continuing to rise, Israel's embassy to the Vatican responded on Sunday with a post on X quoting its ambassador, Yaron Sideman, claiming that, quote, there was a genocidal massacre of Israeli citizens, close quote. He continued, further to what Vatican News reported today, on October 7th, 2023, there was genocidal massacre of Israel citizens, and since then, Israel has exercised its right to self-defense against attempts. Then Israel has exercised its right to self-defense against attempts from severe different fronts to kill its citizens. Any attempt to all this self-defense by any other name is tied to the Jewish state. Close quote. And that is a really harsh reality. So this is a little bit difficult for everybody, I think, because and this is not the article, this is now me talking. I don't see this by the Jewish people themselves. I have very dear friends and students that are Jewish, and I know that they not only don't take part in this, but they're actually against the violence.
Yeah, for sure.
They are friends with a lot of people there. To quote one of my friends and students, he said, I'm bilingual. He said, I am fluent in Arabic. He's like, I know many Arabic people. I have friends who are Arabic. He said, I see all of this as political BS. So the Jewish people themselves that live in Israel, because he is from Israel, he lives in Israel. He's actually in Israel right now. He'll be back in the spring. They hate this.
Yeah.
And they don't see this as anything more than political positioning.
For sure.
And so it's a very sad state of affairs when we have a political party that's trying to act like it's quote unquote defending itself when it's really just positioning itself for more land and more authority. And the Pope in his guidance is trying to guide us towards that same avenue, to explore the ideas of maybe we should look at this and call people out for what they're doing.
Unless you guys know anyone else other than the Pope in terms of the church, I don't know. I don't know anyone else with that level of authority.
Edward, we know you call him every weekend.
I don't know anyone else with that spiritual level of authority on the Protestant side or the Catholic side, his level, that's actually speaking out or talking about it because it's so taboo.
Yeah.
So even though if I don't agree with everything Pope Francis may say, gosh, I have to have so much respect for him to be willing to even address that.
Yeah.
I can't name you one evangelical who would do it. Not one.
Right, because everyone's scared of being canceled.
Yeah.
They say the wrong thing.
No one wants to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And I remind people all the time, like, when they say, well, what side are you on? And I said this to you earlier, like, side of human suffering. And there's suffering on this side, it's that side. If there's suffering on that side, and if it's on both, it's on both. And I don't, I think Aaron alluded to this, like, not everyone is represented by their government. Like,
For sure.
The government does not necessarily represent you. Sometimes we like our president, sometimes we don't, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you have friends in Israel who don't like what's happening. It's sad, it's unfortunate. And when I see like videos of kids like crying because their legs are gone. It's sad. It's sad. Like, so you can't say like, well, I'm a conservative. I'm this. I'm an American. I have to support this side. In that situation, I'm like, you could support that side. That's fine. And still like feel compassion.
Exactly.
Towards
Yeah.
the people that you're seeing afflicted.
An ounce of humanity or empathy. Just an ounce.
There's this black and white to turn off. Like, nope, I don't see the suffering.
Yeah.
I got the blinders on. I don't know who can do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I want to say something that sounds flippant, and then I'm going to explain it before you got a chance to
bless
say
you,
it's
Keith.
like it's just a horrible thing to say.
Oh,
So,
no.
all right, I'm going to start with the flippant statement. Does it matter what Pope Francis says? And now let me clarify. So we have so like the United States is one of the chief funders of the war, right? And in the United States, the bishops are uniquely predisposed against Francis, and are also uniquely in kind of like a communion with the power, the politicians that are going into power.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, does Pope Francis speaking much more forcefully than like a lot of previous popes have spoken about war and genocide? Does it matter as much as, say, if like 30 years ago Pope John Paul II were to say the same thing in a different political environment?
I still think yes, because there's a global voice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How about
Hold on. Let me throw something up real quick. And this is the first time I've used this, so I'm going to try.
I hear what you're saying, no, Keith. I mean, does it actually equate to real change?
Okay, here we go.
Sometimes the person saying the courageous thing gives people an excuse to be like, "Well, his opinion doesn't matter anymore."
Because there are people who argued that, wow, I mean, a lot of people saw that day one, October 31st, or the second day after that.
Mhm.
I'm going to throw up a clip real quick.
Importante. Pope Francis' Christmas message to the courier did not go down well in Israel.
Ieri il patriarca
Have you guys been hearing it?
non lo hanno lasciato entrare a Gaza come avevano permesso.
I don't hear him still. I have
E
headphones on.
ieri sono stati bombardati bambini.
Oh, someone's having it.
Questo
There
è
it goes. He says, yesterday, citizens were
questo
bound.
non è guerra.
This is not a war. I want to tell you
Voglio dirlo perché
because it touches my heart.
Israel's harsh response to the Pope came from the Foreign Ministry. In their statement published on social media, it reads, "Cruelty is terrorists hiding behind children while trying to murder Israeli children." They also say that cruelty is holding 100 hostages for 442 days, including a baby and children, by terrorists and abusing them. It ends with this sentence: "Unfortunately, the Pope has chosen to ignore all of this." Yet during the Angelus the next day, the Pope insisted on rejecting what is happening in Gaza.
e con dolore penso a Gaza. Ha tanta
It's
crudeltà
very interesting. So he says, I
ai
think the
bambini
cruelty
metragliati, ai
and the children
bombardamenti di scuole
and the
e
bombing of the
ospedali.
schools and the hospitals.
Quanta
So we
crudeltà.
cut that short rail there. Okay. So
Yeah.
That actually answers my question.
So
because,
this is very interesting. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
It's very interesting because even in that, and that came from Rome Reports. Okay, Rome Reports. It's a news agency that reports on the Vatican and the happenings around that. And the thing is that even in that news clip, it goes over what the Pope says, and then goes back to what the Israeli government says, and highlights that over top, and then expresses what the Pope says again, but insinuates that the Pope doesn't understand the gravity. And so I actually see that, and I see people being misled by media.
Yeah.
Which is owned by conglomerates, right? Regardless of what you believe. If you go back to one of our episodes, you'll see that all news medias are controlled by 5 entities. It's amazing to think that even a global voice, like the Pope's, can be overshadowed by media.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that response there kind of answers my question, because for the Israeli government to respond like that like reflects the level of like intimidation.
Yeah.
That there is this persistent concern that a broad swath of the world their conscience could open up to this possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
That Israel is doing grave atrocities.
The good thing is that there's a lot of eyes opening. I've had so many people reaching out to me talking about the travesties that are happening, and it's on every side. It's everybody from Jewish people to Catholic people to atheists to Islamic, reaching out saying, "I don't understand why we be backing this. We're talking about a strip that has no military, no army, no navy. They have no power. How are you going to call them out on a war?" And so the people's eyes are opening, and it's these things that I really hope people start opening their eyes, and it does look like it's happening, where people are starting to realize that it's the conventions of war, which is just corporations banking on war, that are driving the wheels.
Yeah. I think the Pope's responses and comments and views on it, I would say, do matter, especially for those outside of the Catholic Church, because it has the ability to challenge, especially who need to be challenged, like the evangelicals and the Protestants, who are the largest base. I mean, there would be no Trump presidency without the evangelical base. There would be no Trump if the evangelicals did not support him. All right. And so his view on all of that is just, it's a huge white elephant in the room that he's willing to call out and address. And I just have to acknowledge that, because, he knows, before the Pope even made these comments, he knew what his detractors would say about him, whether he was anti-Semitic or he was, whatever. They could say whatever you want. He was pro-Hamas, or he's, and whatever it is they want to say about him.
Yeah.
And the evangelicals would just parrot that. But he was still willing to do that, and he was actually willing to meet with both sides.
He was.
The people who were suffering on the Jewish side, because there's some of the biggest advocates for the Palestinian people cause are Jewish people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was actually Jewish communities in Palestine and in Gaza who have suffered and died, who live there.
Both sides are suffering.
And Christian communities within, Gaza.
In here, like where I'm at is like kind of like, oh, I want to tap out of this. Like, I don't know if this is a problem of like social media that makes every like individual now feel like I have to have a stance on something. Like, I don't want to actually have a stance on this or fall on one side indefinitely. I want to say, like, this is sad. This is unfortunate. Whenever human beings who are created by God are suffering or being maimed or killed, it's tragic. Both sides, if that's happening on both sides, it's tragic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like, I'm not the problem solver of this particular problem. And so therefore, like, I'm just like, if there was an easy button, like tap out,
but
press it.
I know, but
yeah.
And I
know
feel
that
you.
sounds like a cop-out, but
no, I feel
really
you.
at the end of the day, like, well, I'm not Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm not a leader of Hamas. I'm not gonna sit down at a table and make decisions with anyone. So I feel like the answer is to like consult the person who can, and that's God, and that's called praying. Consulting with God. Just pray about it. Like,
yeah.
It's very sad and unfortunate.
So
Yeah.
This had me thinking about, like, one of my other top 2024 religious stories was the pro-Palestinian campus protests
Thank
that
God
were
it's not
happening.
skinny jeans.
That were happening like all spring, I think, especially maybe the fall too. I forget. But like thinking about this response, and like, so we're at this point now in the media. Like, the media is openly very accommodating of the incoming administration. And that administration is going to be very pro-Israeli government. And I'm thinking now,
Good point.
as we see the Pope speaking about this, I think in a small way that combined with other voices galvanizes a stronger set of protests the next spring, the next fall.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one problem quote unquote with the protest is it's so easy for politicians like Elise Stefanik in her hearings with the campus college presidents last year. I think it was late 2023, and just generally people being able to say like, oh, these protests are anti-Semitic, because you can basically take like any protest that is critical of the Israeli government and you can spin it as anti-Semitic.
Sure.
Semitic. But maybe that rings much more hollow this spring, this fall, as students are back on campus and are maybe encouraged to engage with this issue again. Absolutely.
I agree with you, because the Pope's position isn't a position of right or left or conservative or liberalism. It's like, like Edward was saying, this is about human suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's no amount of filters or media or spins that can stop people from seeing that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much media control or narrative control they can do, or, propaganda they can pump out. We can still see it for what it is. And the Pope is finally, saying that. He has been saying it for a while in his defense.
For a while, yes.
But it is what it is, and we can see that it's so bad, that the International Court has actually filed arrest warrants for Netanyahu. So bad in Poland, where they actually have the International Holocaust Remembrance, where they do it every year, so the world can remember the Holocaust, right? For the evils that it was.
Yeah.
That if Netanyahu were to step in the country of Poland, he would be arrested for being a war criminal. And they told him, the country of Poland told him, if you come into our country, we will arrest you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's if you look at, and I cannot verify this through reports because I have not ascertained them. However, I have heard that there are many allegations that have been cited towards Netanyahu. And again, I cannot verify them, but I have heard of many of them.
Yeah.
One advantage that the anti-war forces have is that the protests on campus were tamped down. The universities would let them go for a little while, and then they would acquiesce to the broad political consensus. They would do the safe thing for their donors and shut it off. And you could tell it was plainly political. There wasn't any heart in that, that they sincerely believe that the side of the Israeli government is legitimate. And I think specifically to, I remember getting in my inbox last fall a statement from the president of my alma mater, Case Western Reserve University, when he went to go shut down the pro-Palestinian protests. And
which university?
Case Western Reserve University.
Oh, okay.
I went and looked up President Collar's, how old was he? Where did he go to college? And I noticed, he went to college, I think roughly in the 1970s. And I was just sitting there thinking, this guy's writing that these anti-war protesters need to shut up. And I am 98% certain that he was in college in the 70s, sitting around a campfire with someone playing guitar and them singing along to Tin Soldiers and Nixon Coming, 4 Dead in Ohio. No doubt in my mind.
Good Lord.
I mean, I'd pretty much believe whatever you want me to believe if you donated $30 million to me.
Yes.
It's hard.
No,
It's hard to not believe.
Keep pressing that tap out button. Self-governance is the first form of government, and I'm president of that world, right?
The answer of everything is
That's
42.
as far as my political career goes, myself.
Ooh.
This is a good news segment. We have planned, Gumby and I sat around and had a really nice meeting. We planned out a lot of stuff for this year. So,
Can I spring a question at you guys? I meant to ask you this ahead of time.
Okay, go ahead.
Mhm.
All right, because I want us to see if we can get proven wrong in the next year. So thinking about like end of the year news kind of stuff, and I know like some of the news wasn't quite end of the year, but I want everybody to make a prediction for news in the next year.
Oh, no.
Maybe a slight preference because we are like Bible over Brews, maybe like religiously tinged news.
It
Just to
has to
scope
be.
it
I mean,
a little bit.
Everything is religious.
Yeah, true. But I'm willing to go first unless anybody else wants to go first.
No, go ahead.
All right. My prediction, and I think maybe we should do an episode about this. I think oh crap, I'm forgetting his name. Oh crap. Oh my god, I forgot his name. The guy who pays for the Supreme Court seats. Oh no.
Soros?
No, not Soros.
Ba-da-ba-ba-boom.
Catholic Supreme.
Peter Thiel? Zuckerberg.
Oh,
Bezos.
It's definitely Zuckerberg.
who's the guy? He's the conservative Catholic guy. Not the Heritage Foundation. The
Conservative.
Donahue.
Huh?
Oh my god, what is it?
Donahue.
No. Oh my god.
No.
Conservative.
No, because
Catholic.
Donahue was one of the former hosts.
Someone else go while I figure this out. I drink too much beer.
Well, we don't know what you're trying to.
Wait, well, I want you to make
put your thoughts in your
I
head.
want you to make a prediction. Your own prediction. Someone's own prediction for the next year.
The dinosaurs.
A big news story for the next year.
Big news stuff for the next year. I am going
Armageddon.
to predict
I figured it out.
that we are going to see a dramatic increase in different fringe health and phonetic fitness industries.
So annoying.
Whoa.
I know.
Wow.
And I predict that I'm going to unfortunately be a part of that. So, okay.
Oh well, not that part. Not that part. It's not annoying.
Woohoo!
All right. Touche.
For me, it will not be unfortunate. It'll be awesome.
My news prediction, I don't know. I think Greater Israel could be a possibility.
Oh, there you go.
You think what?
Greater Israel could be a possibility.
What do you mean by that? Greater is.
You just stay
And
tuned.
that's a whole
Stay
other
tuned.
episode, but
Stay tuned.
I think that's a lot of the reasons why things are being driven in the Middle East.
Yeah, stay
Greater
tuned.
Israel.
Well,
Okay.
that's a future episode.
We'll talk about it more afterwards.
All right. Sounds good.
Edward, prediction.
You know, I'm just gonna live my life. 2025, and
He's got that button he pushes.
that button again. I don't know.
All right, I finally remembered. Okay, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
And we should do an episode about this guy sometime, but it'll take a little research.
Ugh.
I think as a society,
I really don't like him.
we're going to talk a lot about Leonard Leo.
Who?
Leonard Leo, he's the former vice president of the Federalist Society.
Oh,
And he's like the chief financial dude who makes sure certain Supreme Court justices are picked. So all three of Trump's picks are courtesy of Leonard Leo. So basically he pulls all the strings for what is legal in America.
Is Leo short for Leonard?
No, his first name's Leonard and his last name's Leo.
So
I don't know.
Wait.
call him Leo.
Wait. His name is Leo Leonard.
That's a good point though.
Leonard Leo.
Leonard Leo.
So what you're saying is this
You
guy,
ever heard of Leonard Leo?
So this guy's like
No.
a pseudonym for something.
Maybe, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Is
So
Leonard Leo in the room with us now?
So one rad trad Catholic calls the shots for all jurisprudence in America.
Why do I think this person is not a real person?
He's got a picture.
I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, he's got a picture, so AI can't generate that. So he's definitely a real person.
Of all people, you have never heard of Leonard Leo?
I have not. No.
Holy crap!
Okay.
Oh, we gotta do something about this.
Okay, we'll do
That's
something in
new
the
to me.
future. Okay. So, all right. This was a good night. There's a lot of fun news. So check us out. We have a lot of really fun episodes that we spent a lot of time planning out for this next year. A couple of big names that you're going to have coming at you
some interviews.
Oh, yeah. We've got interviews coming up. We've got cross collaborations coming up. It's really good, fun stuff.
Sorry, this guy looks dorky. He doesn't look like he could do shit.
Godspeed. Good fun. Good night.
Night. Peace out.